Welcome to In Sequence. It's a comics podcast for everyone. My name is Matt, and these folks you're about to hear from are your panelists.
Hi, I'm Jillian.
And I'm Scout.
We don't have Robin today, but today we have plenty of Robins.
We should do. Damn. Fucking good one.
That came to me in the middle of the sentence.
Incredible.
She's represented.
If you're missing Robin, don't worry. Do not worry.
Have we got an episode for you?
We are talking about Batman Wayne Family Adventures. This is a comic that is written by writer CRC Payne. The art is by inker StarBite. Lettering is by Kilamel Sibal. And there's plenty of other people on this book, but I'm just going to call out some assistants. Lon Ma, CM Cameron, Camille Cruz, and just many other people who you can find in the credits of individual episodes. I say episode because Batman Wayne Family Adventures is a comic that is on Webtoon, or at least was first. And that means it is a vertical, scrollable comic and uses all of the lingo that is used by Webtoon, where everything is organized into episodes. It is a series of episodes. They talk about these being released in seasons. We read season 1, which is, I thought it was 50 episodes, but it turns out to be 51 episodes. And print volume.
They should have made it 52.
Right?
If it's DC.
You know, exactly. They really should have. Scout probably doesn't get that reference.
Nodding sagely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really funny. It should have been 52.
52 is just, it's the DC number. Everything they did is 52. We don't need to get into what 52 is.
No, that was my bad joke.
Yeah. Print volumes exist as well. We will talk about the quality of those print volumes in this episode, I'm sure. But if you would like to read what we have read for this episode today, you could read the first 2 print volumes of Batman Wayne Family Adventures. Batman Wayne Family Adventures has the name Batman in the title because it's a way to get people to read a DC comic. In reality, Wayne Family Adventures is a slice of life scrollable comic about the Batfam. That's Bruce, Alfred, and the still growing number of traumatized kids, teens, and 20-somethings that they've adopted over the years. This is a book where the stakes are not the fate of the world or even the fate of Gotham. Instead, we're treated to moments of each of these characters hanging out, getting into and out of arguments, learning how to navigate life, and actually addressing how traumatic it is to be a part of this family. It's also very likely the most widely read Batman comic ever. Just a few episodes into its release, more people had read Wayne Family Adventures than had read any of the current ongoing direct market Batman runs. Yeah, because the Scout's making a face.
Yeah.
And that is because this is something that is published on Webtoon, a platform that is enormous, has a huge audience of readers, and it is one of the more popular series on that application. Which is to say, do we have anyone that has spent a lot of time on Webtoon? Do either of you? Okay, Jill, can you tell us, what is Webtoon? When did Webtoon come to be? Give us the lowdown on like what your history is with like scrollable vertical comics.
I don't remember, I don't know the exact history of Webtoon itself, but there was like a decent period of time where that was my main comic.
Yeah.
That is where I was reading the most comics. I think it was I started doing that in probably college. Was probably when I started really reading a lot of Webtoons. I really have been actually meaning to get back to some series that I really enjoyed on there, but a lot of it is more indie style, webcomic indie style sort of episodes of just people making their comics and putting it out there in a scrollable format. I remember the first time that one of them had sound on it, and it was crazy.
It's so cool when they do it well.
It is really cool. There's this one that I read that on the big climactic chapters had this gorgeous soundtrack going while it was running. But like the other thing that Webtoon to me kind of is you're gonna get some really shitty stuff on Webtoon.
Yeah, you sure fucking are.
And you're gonna get some like genuinely good diamonds in the rough on Webtoon. And you really don't know what you're gonna get half the time when you're like opening up a comic on there.
This is my main gripe with Webtoon, actually, is that like in my 30s, I don't have the time to sift through and be like, is this gonna be a good one? And spend a lot of time reading. And so I actually spend, whereas I'm the kind of person in a lot of other like entertainment realms will spend time like digging outside of the charts, like finding things I enjoy. It's really hard to do that on Webtoon in a meaningful way. And so I often end up reading the things at the top of the charts because at least I know that somebody thought they were good.
At least somebody's reading them.
Yeah.
That was definitely like I would do that a lot. I feel like somewhere in my reading they kind of changed their subscription models and whatnot, and it was less easy to access many of these comics that I was enjoying.
Yeah.
At the pace and price that I was willing to pay. It's had, I'm 90% sure, a bunch of issues with paying creators fairly, etc. But yeah, I used to read a lot of Webtoons, especially like college and when I was living with my parents working my first teaching job. I would just like, that would be what I would do at night, is like hop on Webtoon and like just, you know, scroll and read a comic. There were some on there that I genuinely enjoyed. There were some on there that I definitely stuck around with for sunk cost fallacy reasons. Because I was like, all right, I've been reading this long enough. I at least got to see it through. But like the other thing, like while I say that, you know, there's some really like garbage stuff on there and there's some really good stuff on there, it is at least very accessible to try something new and kind of give it a whirl without like having to go and buy a full issue of a comic book at a store or something. And it's very portable and accessible by just being an app on your phone.
I've never downloaded the app and used it. All of my Webtoon reading that I've done has only been on desktop up to this point.
I will admit to what is potentially a controversial opinion is that I was reading Lore Olympus as it was releasing on Webtoon. And I actually kind of liked it back when I was reading it. I know that's an unpopular opinion.
Isn't it one of, I know nothing about Lore Olympus, but isn't it like one of the best selling print like comics in a long time?
Yeah, a lot of people are pissed about it though.
Really?
I think did it have an ending problem? Did it just have a,
I don't know. I never got to the ending. I just remember, you know, like I was keeping up with it. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of it is like Greek mythology purists are pissed off about it, which like
zero concern about those people.
Dang. No. It definitely like had some issues, 100%. As like most stuff has issues, but like back in the day when it was like not cringe to like Lore Olympus is when I was like in the thick of it.
I feel like there's always some webcomic that I have like a sidelong awareness of it or a passing interest in it, and then I watch it explode. Like I watch the fandom explode. I watch the creators' goodwill just disappear. Ava's Demon is one that I think of when I think of this.
Oh my god, I used to read Ava's Demon all the time.
That I don't know those specifically, but I know the phenomenon you're describing. Webtoon, though, I would say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I would say like it spawns imitators, or at least it has competitors. Things like Tappytoon and Tapas. A lot of these come out of the Tumblr era from like the early to mid 2010s. I know that Webtoon specifically is Korean, which is like, and we'll talk about this soon, but a lot of the art style that you'll see on Webtoon is that kind of manhwa style. Really blocky with, I know you mentioned in your notes, like 3D backgrounds, Scout. And you'll see a lot of that in Wayne Family Adventures. But yeah, this is sort of the realm, the world that this stuff comes from. And I think, honestly, it's pretty smart of DC to say, hey, you know what? We want like young people to be into our property. Let's go where they are rather than asking them to come to us, right? We've seen them have success with how do we get manga readers to read direct market DC comic books with Absolute, right? Like we've seen that crossover begin to happen, but I think it's way easier to put your characters into native pieces of art on the platforms and in the places where the readers you want are, at least as a starting point.
Yeah. And it very clearly worked like crazy.
Yeah, I cannot believe that it went that crazy. That's incredible.
Yeah. And I think it's just the nature of the size of the platform. It's just like, nothing will, I say nothing will, even though we've had the rise of TikTok, but I don't know, we live in the US. So there's like whether we even have that anymore, but I was going to say nothing will compete with YouTube really ever, right? Like the size and scale of YouTube is so huge that it is nearly impossible for anything to compete in terms like of video focused social media. And that's kind of like what the thing that Webtoon has built with comics. And frankly, that in terms of print, the manga industry has built with manga globally now, as you know, they've expanded in the last 20 years. But let's talk about this specific comic. We have mentioned that this is a book about the Bat family. And I think we talked about the Batfam on the Nightwing episode, which was our first episode of this show. That sure is Dimitri Fire Emblem.
He's here.
And I think in this non-spoiler section, I would love for Jill and I, and Scout, if you have thoughts, that's great. But I would love for Jill and I to get into our Batfam history a little bit.
I think yours, as we've discussed before, is definitely deeper than mine. But my best friend has literally always, like genuinely forever, been obsessed with Batman. And so mostly tangentially, I knew about Batman. I knew specifically about Nightwing most of the time. And like, a few years ago, I was like, all right, I want to get into Batman. Like, what's the best way for me to do that? And she was like, oh, you got to find your favorite Robin and then just start reading stuff for that Robin and then branch out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Who do you think mine is going to be? And because, it's my best friend, she knows me very well. She's like, here's where you go. Read this, then read that, and like all that stuff. So that's kind of where it started. And Sorry,
because she knows you very well, she immediately said Jason Todd here.
I'm going to talk about Jason this episode, and I'm not going to apologize for it. But yes, so, it was mostly like her showing me episodes of Batman the Animated Series.
Hell yeah.
Or like suggesting specific animated Batman movies and then kind of branching out from there. And she has always been like very into the concept of the Bat family. Like, oh, here are the fun dynamics between all of these adopted children that Bruce Wayne has and all of their specific issues with each other and like how they view each other and Batman. And I was like, that is the compelling shit to me. So when this came out, I was like, oh, an entire series just about like them being adopted siblings and having to deal with like the day-to-day of that. Sign me up.
Yeah. I got into Batman originally because I was just like perfectly aged for Batman the Animated Series. And I don't know, like that and then like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited were like things that I was obsessed with as a kid, right? Like I remember staying up late when I was like 11 or 12 just because Justice League episodes would be on reruns at like 11 p.m. and I would like have my TV turned down as low as possible so my grandma wouldn't know that I was watching TV in my room.
Incredible.
Even though this is still when TVs made that whine that you knew that a TV was on in the house.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with all of those, but it was really the Teen Titans cartoon on Cartoon Network that does something really similar, to be clear. It's doing the how do these characters interact with each other in human ways or in alien ways. And that is the stuff that I know now as an adult that I was really into. The like punchy, fighty, like monster villain of the week stuff is cool. That's not, I'm not saying it's not cool, but the reason that I attached so hard to Teen Titans was because of the character interactions between the Titans. And that led me to Teen Titans fanfiction message boards, pre-fanfiction.net, pre-AO3.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Yeah. And I mean, I found printouts of Teen Titans fanfic in my basement the other day while we were cleaning out stuff to move to Colombia. And you know what? I kept them. I threw a lot of stuff away.
Yes. This is just like me keeping all of my old Warrior Cats fan fiction that I hand wrote in elementary school.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I have a piece of notebook paper downstairs where I wrote this like kick-ass scene. I read it earlier. I was like, no, this was good. 13-year-old Matt. This kick-ass scene between Raven and Trigon.
Hell yeah. But no, I 100% agree. I feel like even not just like specifically with superheroes, but there is such a like thing that like in general I really like to explore, and it's definitely one of the reasons that I first like started getting into fanfic, especially is just like thinking about like, okay, what if these characters got put into a situation that was so incredibly not the situation that the writers want to put them in?
Yeah.
And like exploring how what I know about that character would influence the way that they like interact with something completely different. And I think that's like really what this comic is, and I really enjoy about it.
Yeah, it's got so much fanfic energy.
It does. In a positive way.
Oh yeah. It's got all of the positives of fanfic. All the reasons I love and loved in the past fanfic are what this comic is doing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So talking about Tumblr days, back in the Tumblr days was when I kind of discovered, it's not really discovered, I just kind of like consciously was aware that the Batfam had grown since the last time I checked in. Because I was like,
you turn away, you turn back, and there's another Robin.
Yeah, I was like medium deep on like Teen Titans Tumblr, just because I had been a Teen Titans guy as a teenager and was now, you know, like an early 20 something. And so I was like vaguely aware of like new characters or what was going on. But like that's how I was introduced to who Damian Wayne was. Damian Wayne, the current Robin, the son of Batman. And I remember messaging somebody on like that had like posted some Batfam stuff and was like, hey, I want to learn more about these characters. What should I read? And they gave me like really not great instructions, so I didn't do that. There's a different world where that's when I got back into comics instead of, 12 years later or whatever. And when I did get back into comics, I didn't really read any Batman. Like Batman is pretty objectively every month the highest selling direct market comic book, but I was just not reading it. Like I hadn't found one that seemed interesting to me. For a while there, it was because I was like having trouble reading sort of like older art styles and the Batman books that are often recommended, or these like kind of older art styles, especially from like the 70s and 80s, some 90s, I've gotten over that hump. I enjoy a lot of stuff these days. But then it was just like, I just hadn't found anything I was totally interested in, but I've always been a fan of the Robins ever since Teen Titans, right? Like that Robin actually was never confirmed who it was, but we know just from context that it was Dick Grayson. But because of that, I was into Robin and the various other like adoptees of Bruce Wayne. And I was like, you know what? I really want to read some Batfam stuff, but I don't want to dig through all of this like plot and continuity to get to just like, I want to know about these people. And that's when someone was like, hey Matt, I've got a great book for you. This book exists. Exactly what you want is out there. And that's when I read Wayne Family Adventures for the first time. We haven't really talked about what we think about it, but I'm really curious.
I think I put this in my spoiler notes, but I think it's non-spoilery enough to bring up here. It feels, and this is also a very Tumblr-ism, it feels like the good old days of Marvel Cinematic Universe fandom, where everyone was writing slice of life story, like fanfics about all of them living in Avengers Tower. And like there were very solidified headcanons that kind of just were pervasive through the entire thing. But like this book feels a lot like kind of that sort of vibe of just like, yeah, we do just keep doing this, taking these superheroes and saying, no, but what if they just had a party that they had to go to? Like, what would happen?
What if they had to go to a party? I think that those moments, the more mundane, the goofier stuff is what really works for me with this comic. When it starts to get more, when they try and do the heartfelt stuff, the more serious stuff is when it really stops working for me. But overall, I had a perfectly enjoyable time with this, and I really enjoy a lot of the characters.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like a little after school special.
There are definitely moments, but I definitely, I mean, again, as somebody who has more context with the characters, I do appreciate that some of these like moments are allowed to exist, because you look at the comic and you're like, okay, but why aren't they like, this is a prime opportunity for this to happen, and we're just going to blow past it.
Yeah. We can talk about specifics and in spoilers, but like I think there's some stuff that I would bet, Scout, really did not resonate with you, but because I have the context, even just like basic context of like this, a pivotal moment in this character's history.
Yeah.
Because I know that, I'm like, oh, we're dealing with that. That's cool. Because I know that like typical American direct market comics are not a space that's gonna give you that.
Deal with emotions.
Yeah.
Like in general and in a genuine way.
Yeah.
Which is not generally do that.
Which is why I like that Tom Taylor Nightwing run a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like that
I was
is a
just
lot
going back through a bunch of my screenshots from that today while I was looking for my ancient Wayne Family Adventure screenshots.
Yeah. It's also, we'll talk about stuff to recommend later, but it's also why I like a lot of the recent Superman John Kent stuff that I think a lot of DC fans don't like, for good reason. But we can talk about that in the further reading later on. Other spoiler-free stuff that we want to get into.
I just want to say we mentioned the print versus online.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the unfortunate thing is, like, I am somebody who really enjoys having physical versions of stuff that I've read, just to make it easy for me to, like, go back to it, especially when it's something we're discussing on, like, podcast and whatnot. I did at first read these on Webtoon because I was reading them as they were coming out, starting, I think, halfway through season 1. But I went ahead and bought the printed versions used so that I could, like, at least have that for reading purposes. And gang, it does not feel like they did any sort of formatting to make it suitable for print.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really blown up, blurry images.
This is what is driving me crazy, is how did they not have higher resolution versions of these images? Did they not tell their artists to save print-sized files? Because obviously none of the files in here are saved to print size. And you can tell because you can tell some of them are fine because they are the appropriate dimensions, pixel dimensions of whatever was on Webtoon. And so many of them are just blown out and blurry because they are being printed larger than the pixel count of whatever files they were working on when they were formatting this for printing. But this is DC Comics. What are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing with their file management?
If I had to guess, I think they didn't expect it to be as big as it was.
100%.
In fact, I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back and get my copy of the third volume because it's the only one I have.
It could be that the problem is it's these episodes that don't have higher resolution images. And as the run of the comic goes on and you get to later, like volume 3, 4, etc. editions, the quality of the art might be better because at that point they had the context of how large it was. And so they had their artists saving higher resolution files than just being like, all we need is the ones that need to go on Webtoon that are like 1,000 by 2,000 pixels.
Yeah, it's hilarious too because looking at the back of the books, it says optimized for reading experience.
Certainly
in print.
not.
And I'm like, no, it is not.
It's interesting because I don't see anything in this third volume that really sticks out to me.
Yeah, and I think even in the second volume, there's a lot better
It's a lot
quality
less, I believe,
of like larger images are much less blurred in general. So I do agree. I think it might just be a like, oh, we didn't expect this to get popular, so popular that we wanted to print it. So we're just going to slap it in there and call it a day.
They're on volume 6 now, which is 3 seasons. And I think there's like 4 or 5 seasons on Webtoon.
Also, the quality of the paper is different from book to book. So
it's much nicer quality in volume 2.
Yeah.
See, that tells me the story even more is that they weren't expecting what they
weren't expecting it to blow up.
So they printed first volume really quickly.
Like, I don't know if this will show up on my camera, but like if you look at these close enough, you can see how pixelated these lines are on some of these.
Well, volume 2 has like a thicker paper. It's more like what you would get in like a trade paperback, whereas the first volume has much thinner paper, like almost comic book style paper, like that.
Yeah,
thing.
volume 2 is sort of a semi-gloss look as well, and volume 1 is matte. The like the darks aren't as dark in volume 1 as well.
So I'm looking right now. They're on season 4 currently. That looks like they're about to wrap up season 4 at the moment. They're on episode 191, came out last week.
Damn.
192 comes out tomorrow.
The other thing, though, and this doesn't have to do with image quality, but the other thing that I think suffers in the print editions is actually the pacing, because, you know, you look at if there's any listeners out here who have never really delved into the world of scrolling comics, there's a particular formatting style to them where you have one or maybe two panels, and there's a lot, like, per sort of segment that would show up on your phone screen. And then there's a bunch of white space or black space generally, and then there's more. And there is something about looking at the comics in that format on Webtoon where, because there is these massive gutters, there is a particular flow to the action that feels better paced. And when everything is squished together in the print editions and all of these panels are layered to look more like a traditional comic book paneling page, everything moves way faster and it feels way more overwhelming.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I have next to me the first volume of Boyfriends, which is another webtoon from the Webtoon Unscrolled imprint. And it has really similar problems, like just due to the nature of what it's trying to do, adapting a scrollable format to a paper format.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is an adaptation. It is not just, you know, moving something from the computer to the page. It is an adaptive move in a way that I can see being very difficult. And I really give kudos to the teams that are tasked with this, because I think it's really an impossible task without total overhaul of the artwork in a lot of ways. You know, like if you were to redraw the whole thing, utilizing it would be impossible. You have to do the whole it's just a totally different format. It's a totally different kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
Not better or worse, just different.
I will say it reads way quicker on your phone too, in my experience.
Yes.
Which is weird because the images are closer together in print, but it does feel like it's easier to read. I guess because everything is spaced out again, you know, you're processing these speech bubbles a lot faster because you're just going by them, you know?
Yeah. Did you want to talk at all about the manhwa look?
Yeah. I was really surprised that DC Comics was going all in on this as far as it's something that I associate a lot with manhwa. Manhwa spelled both with a W or with a U, depending on if you're talking about Korean comics or Chinese comics. But those are, I suppose that is sort of just the Korean and Chinese language equivalents to the word manga in Japanese. But I see it a lot of times used for these big popular scrolling comics that come out of Korea or come out of China. And a lot of them use what I presume to be Clip Studio Paint 3D assets for backgrounds and for props. I presume it's Clip Studio because Clip Studio is very, very popular in those artist demographics, like Chinese and Korean and Japanese artists tend to use it a lot more than like American art. The American art industry is much more focused on Photoshop use. Like over the course of time, Photoshop has been the primary, and Adobe in general has been the primary workhorse. But Clip Studio Paint is a lot more popular in those other markets. And yeah, I can see very, very early on in the first volume when they have the food fight, the fight over food, there's all of these baked goods on the table and these goofy looking candelabras. And it's like, I have seen that in, like my comic about a gay snail that turns into a hot man, you know? I've seen that apple before. And I was really surprised by DC, which we've talked a little bit in the past about house styles as far as these big comic houses go. And it's very interesting to see them just say, no, do this thing that's very popular and very different from what we usually are doing. And it does look like the background artist is a Chinese artist. And so it makes sense. But it was something that I was really surprised to see. Like, wow, it really looks like a manhwa.
It's funny because this might have been the first thing I read on Webtoon, and it may have been the first manhwa adjacent thing I read. And so my brain associates when I go like pick up, I don't know, Wet Sand or something, right? It associates.
You go, oh, this is the Batman Wayne Family Adventures thing.
Exactly. I go the opposite direction.
That's that apple from Batman Wayne Family Adventures.
Also, you should check out Wet Sand if you've never heard of it.
You really should check out Wet Sand.
Wet Sand. All right.
Oh
yeah, that's right. You guys read Wet Sand. I remember that.
We both were talking about it. We happened to read it at the same time independently.
It's extremely horny.
It is extremely horny, but very good.
Yeah.
I typed wet sand into Google and I got
wet sand.
I got how to wet sand, a guide for wet sanding all surfaces. As in using a belt sander on a wet surface.
Yeah. Okay.
Interestingly, out not in incognito, I get immediately the comic book because Google has too much of my data.
I am. Yeah, no, exactly. My very first result is the Tappy Toon link.
Yeah.
And then the Barnes & Noble paperback purchase link. I will also say, just as a personal thing, the chibi heads with the dialogue make incredible reaction images. I'm so glad they exist.
I will say this book is now available in the DC Universe Infinite app, which is their like comic book subscription. They have a format of scrollable comic. It's just scrollable comics called Go. Which I mentioned earlier, they did the good thing of putting their comics on Webtoon to get people to read them, and now they're doing the opposite thing, which is kind of annoying. Yeah. And the thing is, the ones that I've read over there kind of suck anyway. They had a series I was really excited about called Nothing But Nightwing, as in BUTT, which is all about Nightwing being hot.
Yes, I remember hearing about that one coming out.
It was not very good.
Yeah.
Marvel does a similar one on their app called Infinity Comics. But those are starting to make their way to Webtoon. They're going the opposite way now.
I thought you were going to say that Marvel has a Nothing But BUTT, but a different, and then with a different superhero, like Nothing But Spider-Man.
It would be Deadpool if they did it, but yeah.
Nothing But Deadpool, you're right. It would be Deadpool.
That's so true.
All right. Shall we get into spoilers?
We shall.
Yeah.
All right. Jill, your first question here. Who's everyone's favorite member of the Batfam?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we did sort of mention yours and mine very clearly. But Scout, I know that you put notes in about who might potentially be your favorite, and I would like to know if that is true.
I think it is. I think I really like Damien. He's just a little squirt who's way too smart for his own good, and
he's such a punk.
He's just, I don't know where he's from, but in my head, he has a little British boy accent because he's always calling Bruce father.
Oh, man. I love that he's your favorite. That's great to me.
Yeah, I have almost next to no context for any of these Robins. I have no idea. I don't know how Bruce got another child, how there's another one in here. I don't know if he actually fucked that hot lady.
He's the
biological dad.
Yes, he did fuck that hot lady.
Hell yeah. But is he the biological dad, or did he fuck that hot lady separately?
This is his only biological child.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's got full custody because she's an assassin?
That's complicated, and I don't know the details, but basically a while back, Damien tried to kill him, and then that story ended with him deciding to live with his father.
Gotcha. Oh, you ever just set out to kill your dad, a quest to kill your dad, and then you end up bonding and becoming his sidekick?
Yeah.
Damn. Classic storytelling trope.
And actually, Damien...
just like the hero's journey.
Damien was Robin when Dick was Batman, when Bruce was dead. Well, thought to be dead.
Yeah. Presumed dead.
Presumed dead. So Damien has like a brother dad and a dad.
Correct.
Yes.
He sure does have a brother dad.
I think there's an extent that most of them also kind of sometimes see Dick as a dad.
Yeah.
That's fair. He is the oldest.
Man.
Yeah.
He we really don't need to go into these super like details. In fact, the thing that I will say is that I love this book a lot because it gives you enough to get into the character stuff without like burdening you with all the background, right?
Yeah, there's so much stuff in here where I'm like, I don't 100% know what's going on, but they got the spirit. Like I get the emotion of the moment, and that's the thing that's important here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes it work as being a webtoon so much is like random people who have never touched a Batman comic in their life might see that and be like, oh, Batman, maybe I'll give this a shot. And then they're like, okay, yeah, this is easy enough to follow, rather than having some guy in your ear, guy gender neutral, somebody in your ear just saying, well, actually, you have to read this volume and then this issue, which is in a separate run, and then that volume in order to get the real understanding of this character. And I'm like, no, we just know that Jason likes to read classic literature. Yeah. We don't need to like know that ahead of time. It's just a fact of life.
And then he was dead once. You have to know he was dead once.
And then he was dead once. It was very important that he was dead once. Very important to him being my favorite character is that he was dead once.
Yeah.
Was there a brief Rick Grayson like lampshade illusion in here when they were talking about who's died before? Did Dick say like, does XYZ thing count? And they were like, no. And I feel like it might have been a Rick Grayson
I
call
didn't
out.
pick up on it, but that would be really funny.
Yeah.
I know the scene you're talking about, though.
It's the one where they're doing bingo, superhero bingo, or vigilante bingo.
Okay.
The one where they're like, who was raised by assassins?
Right.
Yeah.
Who's been dead before?
Raise your hand if you've ever been murdered and come back to life. And Dick says, are we counting the thing with the crime syndicate? I can never remember. And
my God, it so is.
Oh my God.
And Jason says, no.
It's like, I can never remember because he had amnesia. Fuck, that's good.
And Jason says no, and Tim says yes.
Incredible. Yes, Jason is my favorite. I really like Tim Drake in this.
Oh yeah, he's so good.
He kind of rules in here.
He's so good in this. I'm like, wow, I think this reading Wayne Family Adventures is what made me be like, maybe I need to read more Tim Drake comics. I still haven't, but I am like, wow, maybe I need to dive deeper into this boy.
I had a moment where I was reading it and I thought to myself, Tim looks so much like a yaoi manga protag, and that was moments before he went on a gay date. And I was like, fucking called it. Got him.
Oh, I gotta show you this freaking art from that I was sent from a different comic of him. He just is looking so gorgeous.
And a cover of a recent Robin Tim Drake comic from 2 or 3 years ago are the things that made me think I should read more Tim Drake, and then have not done so.
We'll make a pact. We'll make a pact, Matt. We'll both read more Tim Drake.
He came out as bi somewhat recently, so this whole him dating Bernard thing is kind of new.
Cool.
I'm sharing the cover.
He's bisexual.
In our chat.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh yeah,
Look at that.
I see the vibe, Jillian.
Yeah.
Yeah, check him out. His nose is so pointy in this kiss. It really distracted me for a second.
Very, very yaoi manga protagonist.
Yeah, yeah.
So we said that we know who my favorite is because I'm such a big fan of the Robins and all of that. But I honestly, Dick Grayson is probably my favorite Robin. I know I'm basic. Deal with it.
It's not basic.
But
I like him.
You just have good taste.
But I actually really think that Kate Kane, Batwoman, is my favorite of the characters in this series. She doesn't get a lot of play in this particular chunk that we read. She has a really cute scene with Tim specifically.
Yeah, I like that scene.
Actually, the same episode that you were talking about.
Yeah, the gay date episode.
The gay date episode. But I just like her a lot. I think her costume fucking rips.
It's so good.
I think the way that she's written by Greg Rucka in the series that he did with J.H. Williams is really cool, even though a lot of her motivation for becoming Batwoman is related to the Iraq War.
Yeah.
It's kind of messy, but it's a comic book. When is it not? But no, I just think Batwoman fucking rules. And there's I shared an image in our chat of Renee Montoya. In this, she's Detective Renee Montoya. And let you all know, because the book sure does not say this, that she's Kate's forever toxic lesbian on and off again.
Incredible.
And their dynamic is great. Just absolutely great. I got plenty of further reading for you later if you want to know more about Renee and Kate.
Would love to know about that.
For 1 second, I thought Renee Montoya was trans, and then I realized that no, she just was way butcher when she was younger.
No,
But there was a
exactly.
moment where I was like, wait a minute.
She's just
Yeah.
extremely lesbian. Unfortunately, she's been a cop for forever, even though she was in a series where like the ending of the series basically means she can never be a cop. Like internally as a person, being a cop would go back on the everything she learned. And she has now been since then the commissioner of GCPD.
Yeah.
So
Woof.
I feel like it's impossible to be in the comics space without having cops in there.
yeah. Or like going back
yeah.
on a character change even. Right?
Yeah, that as
Yeah.
well.
That's very true. I like the little callbacks to stuff that like, and I'm as you know, Scout clearly pointed out, I didn't even like clock the Rick Grayson thing, but like there are definitely things that are callbacks, references to other like parts of Batfam canon that I do not know, but like when I get the ones that I do know, I really enjoy that. I'm easy to please. So like the episode where Bruce is laid up with an injury and they're all trying to like keep him from getting off of bed rest. And one of the things that happens is Jason steals all the tires because that is how he first met Bruce, was he stole the tires off the Batmobile.
It's a good joke.
As a kid.
That's really good.
So it's such a good little joke for him to like have the little tire iron and like look at Bruce like, yeah, I just stole every single tire. And I just thought it was a very fun thing. And so there's all these little things like that. The like disco wing outfit.
Shout out to Disco Wing. That was really funny.
All of those little things just like are very fun to me. And I think work really well in a like, you know, a fun episodic slice of life comic that is based on like a bigger franchise.
Yeah. Scout, you mentioned Bat Cow.
Bat cow. There's a guy that got
Bat
cow. They got a bat cow.
They got Bat Cow. They sure
How
do.
does under what circumstances did they acquire a cow, and under what circumstances does the cow become plot relevant?
So I'm going to tell you this one, which is that in 2012 in Batman Incorporated by Grant Morrison, Damian rescues a cow from a slaughterhouse and declares that he is now vegetarian. Okay. And ever since, Damian has been vegetarian and like has had a thing for animals. This is just like, it's not as like on the nose as it is in this series, but it is like a character trait of Damian Wayne.
Right. He's like an animal boy.
Yeah. And that is largely because Grant Morrison is also a vegetarian. Like, yeah.
Love that. Incredible.
In fact, Grant Morrison might be vegan. I'm not sure.
This sounds like a vegan thing to do, honestly.
Yeah. Or sorry, Grant Morrison says they're not vegetarian anymore, which
Wow.
as of 2017.
Wow. Incredible.
Coincidentally, or maybe not, they also wrote Animal Man and have one of the most respected runs of Animal Man ever. Probably the most respected run of Animal Man.
I feel like we've mentioned Animal Man before.
Oh my.
Check him out. He got all these animals. He's a man with animals.
He gets the powers of the animals that he's around.
Oh.
That's cool.
He's a blue mage.
He's a blue mage. Incredible. Is Bat Cow part of the Super Pets?
I don't know.
The super
Maybe.
pets.
There's like there's a
DC's
there's like
League
the
of Super Pets.
Yeah, there's like the Justice League, but it's all their animals, I think.
They're doing a thing like on the television show Arthur, where they have the Secret Life of Dogs and Babies, where Pal the dog and baby Kate, Arthur's baby sister, go on like adventures and go to the stock market and shit. That's
Looks
a reference.
like it.
That's a reference just for me.
No. I know what you're talking about. Don't worry. Your Arthur references are not lost on me.
Hold on. From Wikipedia of the League of Super Pet or Legion of Super Pets, the group is reintroduced in the Super Sons annual 2018 and consists of Crypto, Streaky, Damian Wayne's dog Titus, Damian Wayne's cow, Bat Cow, along with 2 new animals.
There we go.
Yeah.
Bat Cow.
Damian Wayne, honorable member of the League of Super Pets.
Well, shout out to Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
I have to, while we're still talking about Damian, Jill mentioned the classic literature earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I have to call out the Jane Austen chapter. This was chapter 31, where Damian is trying to get blackmail dirt on all the other Bat kids and finds out that Jason Todd reads Jane Austen, and Jason Todd's like, yeah, what of it? It's good. And then Damian Wayne is reading it, and it's really good. This is another one where I'm like, this child is British to me. I do not trust this Wickham character. He seems wrong for Elizabeth.
You know,
this classic lit fan Jason Todd, as a canon fact, is one of the other reasons that I like him so much.
This is him. This speaks to me. This is scout bait, this whole thing, and
it was
I
a
love
very
it.
good
Thank you
chapter.
I guess I like it when superheroes read books, because I also really liked it in Absolute Wonder Woman when Wonder Woman was reading books. So I guess I just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damian was raised on Infinity Island, which is somewhere in the Caribbean Sea.
Gotcha.
And he was raised by a mother who is Arab and Chinese.
Mm-hmm. So not a little British boy, but
not a little British boy, but you can headcanon it all you want.
Maybe he picked up the affect from Alfred. Is possible.
Oh my god, that would be really funny.
Actually, Scout, I did find that blog earlier. You might like. There's a blog I found while making my notes, which is "Does the Batfam Know Pop Culture?" And it is somebody who is collecting as many like moments in DC Comics where characters reference media other than DC Comics. As like, so-and-so has seen X. The Riddler has watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Like, things like that. It's very fun.
I like that. I don't always like it when they reference pop culture in the comics, but I think I like it when somebody compiles all of the times that they've said things about pop culture in the comics. That I like.
I know we were talking earlier about the sort of overwritten sections, or the ones that are trying to be a little after school special. I want to talk about Jason's specifically, because that was one that really worked for me. We said earlier that like an important fact about Jason Todd is that he was killed by the Joker. And like, that is maybe the most important thing about Jason Todd. That he was killed by the Joker. And the readers, but that's, neither here nor there. Do you know this story, Scout? Have we talked about this on the show?
Yeah, I know I don't think I ever knew it was the Joker, but I knew that there was a fan vote and he was voted to be killed, and then they brought him back, and then he became the Red Hood, and that was the whole thing. And he was like cool now. They brought him back, and he was cool.
He was edgy and a murderer.
He was edgy and a murderer.
They brought him back wrong, and now he kills people, and he's very upset that his dad did not avenge him.
I see.
But yes, the Joker took a crowbar and beat the hell out of him and then blew him up. Insult to injury. Yeah, it was really rough. But yeah, so it's, the fact that like the scraping of the metal on ground like triggers this panic attack is so important to me.
And I think that one works the best because there's not actually a lot of dialogue to go along with it. It is much more about the visuals and about the expression work. And I think of the more dramatic moments, that is the one that worked the best for me.
Yeah. To me, it feels very like, it is part of Jason Todd's character that like he was killed by the Joker and he has never gotten over that a day in his life, which like valid, but this like kind of justifies it a little more than just, yeah, you died and got resurrected in the green goop and now you're mad. It's very much like, no, this guy has not unpacked that and probably will not actually for real unpack it ever.
It's also giving him a chance to do that, which the comics are never, like the main comics are never going to give him a chance to do. And like a thing about the scene for me and about this book for me is it pulls Bruce frankly out of character, but I think out of character complimentary, right?
Yeah.
Bruce is usually the one that is so obsessive about his work as Batman that it hurts not only his family but also himself, right? And in Wayne Family Adventures, he gets to be the good dad who's there for the kids when they need him. And the scene where he's like talking like Jason back to reality is I think one of the better scenes in the book, or in the parts that we read at least. Like, hey, you're on a rug. There were not rugs the night that you were murdered, right? Like really just like
doing grounding techniques with him.
Grounding him in the literal physical space is really like, I don't know. Bruce Wayne in the main continuity is just not that well adjusted.
I think I will say, you know, since we did the Nightwing episode, I did go back and like finish reading that arc. There are definitely moments where he has that with Dick in the main
you're right.
comic, but it does not feel like, again, because of the way that the Red Hood stuff is generally like approached, that is not a conversation that I feel like would happen in a Red Hood book.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like that, you know, I don't think that Bruce being like a caring dad is out of character, because we have seen that with other characters, but it is nice to see it with a different character in a different situation.
Yeah, that's fair. I just like how this book gives Bruce room to like uplift the rest of the cast. In like a lot of these characters are really isolated to like very specific runs in Batman or in their own comics, right? Like Cass has a couple like really, really good Batgirl runs. One of them is currently ongoing. And, you know, Damian has several runs, but very few of those overlap with the rest of the cast. I would say Babs and the Boy Robins tend to be the most present, right? But, you know, like folks like Stephanie Brown, like she's mostly relegated to stuff that is about her, right? Even if it is a Batman book, it is the Batman book with Stephanie Brown in it. That's
what I do like about in the back of the physical versions, they have like a little flowchart of like, hey, here's where you can find these other characters.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is very clear that most of them are solo stuff. But there are a couple where it's like, oh yeah, here, if you want both Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain, like, here's the book that you should read.
Yeah. I know Batgirls is a really prominent one for folks that are like really into the girls.
That's the Jason one is one that really works, I think, as far as the more dramatic moments. And then we get the ones like, I just think this whole thing has done Duke dirty from just the part that we've been in, but there's the Duke's sudden romance, and then immediately in the next chapter sudden breakup. It was very a very early low point for me on this, which is too bad, because I'm going to roll this also into the other thing I had to say about Duke, which is that the way it's set up via the first chapter is that it feels as though the series is going to be Duke navigating family dynamics as the new guy, and that is a really interesting setup. And then he kind of isn't in it that much. Yeah. Who is he anyways? Wait a minute. Who are you? I don't know who Duke is.
I don't know a ton about Duke. What I know about Duke is from this and from reading about who Duke was when I read this. Which is that he was in the Scott Snyder run of Batman, and he's like a Scott Snyder original character. And he was in a series called We Are Robins, which was sort of like there was almost like a movement of Robins, that Duke was one of those. And then he became Signal and became Batman's like sidekick for a while.
Gotcha. We are Robins. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
That is a thing that like my friend has mentioned, is like there is a tendency to, and clearly there are many members of the Bat family, is like sometimes people will be like, well, I want to make my Bat family member.
It's my turn to give Bruce a new kid.
I mean, that's literally why you don't see Signal anymore, is because James Tynion tried to do the same thing. And, you know, now we got Matt Fraction writing, and he's brought Tim Drake as Robin. And like, that's a big deal, right? Like, I mean, Damien's still there as like doing his stuff, but like, oh, you're just reaching back into like the toy box and pulling out one of the existing toys and not inventing your own. That's neat. That's something we haven't seen in a while. But, you know, I'm with you. I think Duke kind of gets just like thrown to the side in this book. And it's unfortunate because he's a really good framing character for the goal of this book, which is to introduce new people to these characters.
Yeah.
Because even like, if you don't have any idea of who these people are, right? Like you're aware of Robin. You might be aware that there's multiple Robins, right? You probably don't know who Cass is. You probably don't, like, you may have heard of Batgirl, but that there's been 3 of them. You're like, I didn't know that. But like Duke is kind of like, what is Signal, right? Like,
who the hell is Signal? signal.
Yeah, like that is out of nowhere. And I think like despite being maybe alienating to some people is a really good sort of like entry point of a character into a story about, you know, getting to know this family. But yeah, it leads to some really cool moments early on. You mentioned like the second episode, which is them fighting over cookies, right? Like those are the things that make this book good, is those moments.
Yeah, when they're all just being a big goofy family is when it sings. And a lot of the moments where it tries to shift into more family drama. I think this is going to be the second time I bring up the television show Parenthood in the last like 3 weeks of podcasting. But there's moments in here that are very much Parenthood to me, which is fine if that was the whole thing. But there's just something about the immediate tone shift and also the speed of it. And it's not helped by the way that the pacing feels more compressed in the print versions as well. That I just don't feel like we need to do that. I think it would be better if it was more the silly stuff and not quite as much, or either that or write it differently in some way. And I think that it's a lot subtler with the Jason Todd one.
Yeah.
Because there's even the moment at the end where I don't know what the purple girl's name is. Who wears purple?
Stephanie Brown?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Stephanie comes in at the end of Jason having a rough time, and he's like chilling in the living room, and she comes in and she's like, Damien helped me find some cat videos to show you. And that is so much better than like Duke going, how am I ever going to feel better again after his first breakup to me? Like, it's just, that hits so much better.
Yeah. The one that I actually really like, and maybe it's just because like it's gay, is with Kate and Tim on the roof, where they're like Tim is kind of like trying to, I think it's a little, to be clear, overwritten that he's like, I don't know if he wants to hold my hand.
Sometimes mostly because all of these characters feel like they've never interacted with anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible detective.
But the conversation that he has with Kate about dating is good to me. And I love the interaction when he's basically like, is dating guys different from dating girls? And she's like, I am not the person to ask this question. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think some of it's a little much. I actually, as much as like Steph's chapter about like feeling like she needs to work so much harder than the rest of them to like prove herself, I think is an interesting framing. I think the way it's handled is kind of messy.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, that the ones that work for Jillian and I are the ones that speak to like our existing knowledge of the characters, especially when this is a book meant to onboard people to these characters. That probably tells me that those are just scenes that don't work in this, like work for this goal's mission or for this book's mission as well.
I have just a couple more silly things. Spoiler for later chapters, but the guys who kidnapped Tim do have a comeback.
Oh my God.
And they have a moment where they're like, we took your advice about the masks, Mr. Red Hood, sir. And he's like, please, Mr. Red Hood was my father. And he's like dying laughing while saying this. It was such a good moment.
I love that.
I also, because this is Wayne Family Adventures, I get to bring up my favorite thing, which is Batfam memes.
Yes.
Especially ones that relate specifically to some of these comics. This is one of my favorites, which is the Bat Family having dinner, which is like 1-for-1 the episode where Batman is chasing down Catwoman and the mic is still on as he's flirting.
They're like about to fuck on that roof.
They are like about to. It's so funny. But there's the Bat Family dinner meme is my favorite one of all time. I use it all the time, and it's Selena like meowing and Bruce like, that's enough, cat, winky face. And Jason's just like, can we not have one normal interaction in this family? We are trying to eat a goddamn meal right now, and you two do this. I hate this fucking family. And it is that chapter exactly, which like lends again to the like, this is fanficky in a great way.
Yeah.
The first rule of driving the Batmobile is to have fun and be yourself.
We also have that chapter.
Which is also a chapter.
Wait, and then Duke does get to have a little bit of a moment to shine.
That's a good Duke moment. Yeah.
It does. That was a great Duke moment. That poor kid.
This one really speaks to me.
Yeah, this one has the moment where in the actual comic, Jason is yelling about Bruce not killing the Joker to some randos at the party, and Bruce is like dragging him away. But instead, it's Jason yelling this Tumblr post, which is Mary Shelley writing about a monster rejected and abandoned by its creator and dedicating it to her own father. I need to smoke a blunt with her. I need to give her head. Bruce just dragging him away. I think it just, this is one of my favorite things about Batfam content is just like, yeah, we're just gonna like go crazy with it.
I will say your comparison of this to Avengers Tower fanfic makes me wish that I was there for Avengers Tower fanfic, because I was very not on that corner of the internet.
It was a pretty lit time, I'm not gonna lie. Hawkwing was in the air ducts and everything. It was great. Or Hawkeye. Fuck.
Oh, I thought that there was some ship that
I was Warriors pilled for a second there. Hawkwing is a character in Warriors.
Hawkwing is a warrior cat.
Hawkeye was in the ventilation system.
Not to be confused with Riza Hawkeye, who we're going to learn about.
That's so true.
In 2
Who we're
weeks.
going to talk about 2 weeks.
That's your other podcast. Anything else we want to get into before we go to further reading?
No, I'm happy.
glad you suggested this one, Matt.
Well, I'll say, I know Robin read this, so I'm glad she read it, but I suggested this because of the comment in the Nightwing episode that Robin said she loved the text conversations with the Batfam in that book. And when she said that, I wrote this down on our list. So if you read that book with us and you liked those sections as well, I think you might enjoy this book. As far as further reading, I will say I cannot recommend the other DC Webtoon series, either because I haven't read them or they're like super bad, like Red Hood Outlaws.
I did try and read Red Hood Outlaws. The one thing I appreciated is there are a couple panels where Jason Todd is incredibly, incredibly sexily drawn, and that's it.
Yeah. It's not even just like in terms of sex, but it is much more adult in its storytelling, and also tries to go a little too edgy in the way a lot of Red Hood books do.
Yeah.
I will recommend, we're going to talk about 52 for a second, the podcast 52 Pickup, only if you continue to listen to our show, though. It is a podcast.
Don't abandon us.
It is about DC's 52. And if Renee and Kate interested you at all, there is a lot of lesbian yearning and drama in that book. They also interviewed CRC Payne, the writer of this book, in a member episode a while back. So if you subscribe to Aftermath and get their member episodes, you can. That podcast is from aftermath.site. So you can get an interview with CRC Payne. Speaking of Renee, the series Gotham Central by Greg Rucka could not be more different from this book, but it's just maybe one of the best comics. Renee is good in that series as an all-timer. Kate also has a pretty great Batwoman mini by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams, and it was actually collected in one of those $10 DC Compact comics recently. Like I said earlier, I have to warn you that it goes pretty heavy on the Iraq War.
It's just that's so funny to me.
I do have that one on my shelf that I am planning on reading.
It is a book that I go back and forth on whether or not I want to read it on this show. I don't know. If we ever do bonuses or something, I think it might be fun for Jillian and I to read it, just as like the superhero representatives here. And Greg Rucka also has a new Batwoman run starting up in May, probably around the time this episode goes out. I will say not as much as this low-key vibe of like these characters interacting, definitely not as big as of a cast, but I am currently really enjoying the ongoing Wiccan Witch's Road. It's doing similar things that the characters do like between each other in this book with Wiccan and Hulkling's relationship. That is a Marvel book, but I will say I've read almost everything that has Wiccan and Hulkling in it.
I was going to say you're a very big Wiccan and Hulkling person.
They have a really good Infinity comic, which is on the app Marvel Unlimited. I don't know if those are free. I'm sorry. I wish I could remember, but they have a really good Infinity comic. And if you're into Dick, I put A in the notes when I said that. If you're into Dick, A. You can check out our first episode on Nightwing Leaping into the Light that also just came out in DC Compact form. If you are into Damien, there is a lot for you to read. Here are some suggestions. I suggest you check out Super Sons, which is a book about him and Jonathan Kent as kids trying to be superheroes and like getting into hijinks.
Is that the clone one?
No, that's Connor.
That's Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about DC superheroes generally is that they have a lot of families. There's a Green Arrow family. There's a super family. This is a thing that DC specifically loves to do. Super Sons is really good. And like I said earlier, I'm actually a big fan of teenage and adult John Kent. So don't hurt me fans that are mad he got aged up. I also can recommend Grant Morrison's Batman and Son as well as their Batman and Robin. I'm not a big Grant Morrison fan, but I am an outlier. If you're into Damian Wayne, you're probably gonna dig what Morrison did with these series. It will warn you, all of these are going to be way darker than the stuff that we're reading. It's Batman and it's a DC comic book. It's going to be broody and angsty and you'll get moments of levity, but it's not going to be the whole thing. And then I've also heard that the book Robin, Son of Batman is a great Damian Wayne story. Batgirl from 2000 is a great intro to Cass, and she also has a good ongoing Batgirl run right now. But really, my number one personal rec is to go watch all of the original Teen Titans cartoon and Batman the Animated Series. Those are the ones.
Batman the Animated Series is so fucking good, you guys.
Those are the ones that I really
things.
think that you need to, if you're going to do anything, spend your time on those. Also, they feel more like this than anything else that I just listed. The thing is, I believe, and it's because it's what I was raised on in terms of superheroes, is that the fun DC stuff is all animated. It's like
100%.
It's not that there's not good comics. It's that the stuff that is pure fun, that is just pure joy, even if it can be dark and broody, right? Like the stuff that is meant to elicit joy is in the animation. And that can be the animated series. It can be Justice League and Unlimited. It could be Young Justice, right? Like,
oh, loved Young Justice.
I said Young Justice and I felt like fanfic brain from Jillian like emanate out of Discord.
I didn't even write fanfics. That was like one of the like first like DC as like more than just a singular superhero that I consumed. And that wasn't even until college, but like I watched Young Justice and I was obsessed.
Yeah. Like we said, you can read this on Webtoon, or if you want to read the physical editions, you can support your local library, local bookstore, or local comic shop because they would appreciate even you just showing up and being there. They all need your support. In Sequence is a member of The Worst Garbage. You can find us at theworstgarbage.online, and you can find the show at insequence.pictures. Panelists, if there's anything you want to share with the listener.
I don't have anything particularly exciting, just that you can find me on plottwist.card.co for every link under the sun, including, I will say, you can find my AO3 there. You will find some Batman fanfic, and you will also be able to find some that I recommend. So if you are interested, go there.
I'm going there right now.
I will send you Batman fanfic. Don't worry.
You can find me on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Humble Goat, and you see the art that I do, including our podcast cover art, at scoutwilkinson.myportfolio.com. If you want to read along with us, next episode is part 1.
Start booking
of our Full Metal Alchemist series that will be ongoing throughout the year. We are reading volumes 1 through 9 of Full Metal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So get ready, get reading if you haven't started yet.
That message is for me personally. I have read a volume and a half of the 9 volumes I have 2 weeks to read.
Well, do you have one of the you got one of them big guys that's like 3 volumes in one? Because maybe you've actually read 3 volumes.
It's a volume and a half.
True.
Yeah, I do have one of the more recent releases, but they're like a volume and a half. It's the hardcovers with like the nice like vellum paper and all that.
Nice.
I've got
Scout,
the volume.
I've got to mail you the fucking art book. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we're going to be covering this throughout the year. So if I don't get the art book until next episode, no worries. I've got this from the library. This is the 20th anniversary book that has some a lot of the extras across the whole series and some like bonus stuff from Hiromu Arakawa that's really cool. Anyways, that's what the next episode is going to be, and get ready for it.
We're very clearly excited about it.
I'm so excited to talk about Fullmetal
I'm so excited to talk about Full Metal Alchemist.
I love that we said long reads and that we were going to force each other to read them. And Scout said, bet, I got a year of reading for you. You can find me at youtube.com/@flowstatecrit. That is flowstate, CRIT. I had someone think I said crat today. I was like, I don't know what that means.
That's for the Crap Brothers.
But I just last week had a video go up about Persona 4 Golden. And, I am just thrilled that I got to write about Persona and most of the response is not people calling me slurs. So, I
Hell yeah.
I did something
We take the
right?
wins.
Question mark? I guess. But yeah, no, I'm actually really proud of that video. And, it'll still be in there in a month when you hear this episode. Other than that, thank you for listening. Tell your friends about the show. Rate, review, do whatever you do. Go to In So We Can Stop Pictures and support your local library and comic shop. And we'll talk to you next time.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.